Oh, I know we haven't had a fan cast in a little while, and that is pretty much because this is what the members chose as the next one. Oh boy. Oh god. Okay. So I gotta thank the people who really helped out while I was on stream for 14 hours doing the sit and run in one sitting. Because we fan cast a couple things during that stream, and they will be released as videos, so you don't have to go watch the stream to see them. This is one of them. We worked hard on casting not every character that you can name in the Harry Potter franchise, because let's face it, that is not doable in one video. That would be hours. But we've cast a lot of the major ones. Now here's the thing. A lot of the children that would need cast for a new take on the Harry Potter films, you would need to be casting them 11 to 14. And that, there's not a huge number of well enough known child actors for me to say anything other than obviously they would be cast as unknowns. Now, in spite of that, I've managed to find a few who I think would be quite suitable for some of the leading child roles. But we go a lot deeper in terms of characters here for adults than we do for kids, because it would just reach a certain stage where I would just be saying, this kid who was in this one thing that you might not have seen. And you would just be going, oh, alright. It's more interesting to see, for the most part, who we're casting as the adults. But we've got a few of the kids, so we'll get them done first, okay? So obviously Harry Potter. He's a wizard, He's a wizard, Harry. There's, like I'm saying, there aren't a lot of known quantities when it comes to 11 to 12-year-old child actors. Fortunately, much like most things in Hollywood, you just use a little movie magic, okay? You just cast somebody who's like 14, and you can pretty much get away with with being 11 for one film, and then 12 for one film. By the time you're casting a 16-year-old as a 13-year-old, it gets a little bit more tricky, but I mean, it doesn't matter. You get away with it. Because it's Hollywood, so you get away with it. I'm going to cast Jacob Tremblay. And that might sound very basic. Because it is. But he's one of the few really well-known quantities as a 14-year-old actor. He's good at these more introverted leading roles. I don't think of Harry as particular being much of an extrovert, really, as a leading character. Not as badly introverted as you would think of Bella Swan, Katniss Everdeen. But he does struggle slightly. It's Ron that strikes up more of a conversation with him. It's Hermione who takes the most charge out of any of the three of them. So Harry is okay being this more introverted lead. Jacob Tremblay's proven himself as a lead, which is crazy and so hard to find by 14, which is why I'm willing to cast him like this. And he's done things like Wonder. Doing the lead in Wonder, this kid who sticks out and is different at school, and obviously it's a very different situation overall, but it was a powerful performance, and it made me think, yeah, no, he'd actually be pretty sick for this. Next, similarly, Ron, you need to find somebody who is around the same age, and I think the best option is just to say, let's cast Roman Griffin Davis as Ron, because once again, proving himself as a lead in Jojo Rabbit, did a great job in that, and that is a more comedic role. And while Ron in the original films came off as mostly a little bitch, there's an opportunity to make him slightly more of a comedic character overall, because Harry is so serious so much of the time that I feel you need, and Hermione is as well. If you're having Ron there, not quite as serious, he's going to come off as the Mimi comedic side character no matter what. So you may as well lean into it, and Roman Griffin Davis would be fantastic at that, while not really being annoying. Not that Rupert Grint was annoying, he was more annoying than the other two. Savagery. Next, and Hermione is actually, and while it maybe at this point I should just be casting another 14-year-old, because I think Roman Griffin Davis and Jacob Tremblay are both 14, there is actually a quantity here that I actually feel they could cast as Hermione, and she's actually 11 years old, which is the age they're meant to be in the first book. So I'm going to say Emily B. Smith, who was in The Haunting of Bly Manor, which you should know. If you don't, watch it. Sick. Great show. And she was so good in that as this young, posh English girl. Thank you very much. That is all you need. And it would be weird then to cast the 14-year-old boys and the 11-year-old girl, maybe. But girls often come off as older if you cast them at the same age, so they would come off as more the same age if you cast them separately. That doesn't make any sense. Next, Draco Malfoy. It's so mean to say this kid looks like, at 12, 13 years old, that he could play a dickhead. But I'm going to cast Elias harder. You can just take from that what you will. I just think he could play the role. I think he'd be good at acting the role. I don't think he's a dickhead in general. I'm not going to say I think this kid is probably a dick or he looks like he could play one in general at 13, 14, but you got to cast somebody, so there. Next. And Neville Longbottom. Another chance for a more comedic character. And another chance to try and cast somebody who wouldn't annoy you much. Because Neville, at least in the early books and films, it's not Matthew Lewis's fault. Books and films, he comes off as an annoying character. I'd like to cast Archie Yates. Because he was also in Jojo Rabbit, was great with Roman Griffin Davis. And he played in that a role that was funny. He was this nerdier looking kind of child. I almost cast him for Harry. I'm interested in the idea, but I think he would work well for Neville. And I think he would be funny without being annoying as Neville, which is a hard line to tread. It really can be with those sorts of characters. And I think Neville becomes a great character from book 5 onwards, maybe. But definitely when he's younger, he comes off as quite just irritating to be around. He's also the last child that I'm really going to cast. I know there are a lot more out there that you could. I'm not really getting too much into them. There's maybe a couple of the older ones here, but that's the most of the kids that we're casting. Next. Now, we've got to move pretty quickly through the rest of the castings because there are so many here, and I don't want this video to be like half an hour long. Nobody wants that. Snape. There is an obvious answer for Snape, and one that you could almost say it's basic because it's so obvious to cast him. But he would just be really good at it. And let's not forget that Alan Rickman was actually cast as Snape, and he was great at it, don't get me wrong, but he was really old to be playing Snape. Like, in the actual timeline of Harry Potter, Snape should have still been in his 30s when Harry started school. Because Lily and James had Harry at, like, 21 years old. So then Harry, they should have been, like, 33 when Harry was starting Hogwarts. And Snape was in their year. But anyway, I'm going to cast Adam Driver. Oh, yes. Such a similar look and type of villain that you could see Alan Rickman playing. I could have seen Alan Rickman younger doing Kylo Ren. No, that's not right. I could have seen Adam Driver around now doing Hans Gruber. Maybe he could be Hans Gruber's son. John McClane already faced his brother. Maybe in the next Die Hard film he can face Adam Driver as Hans Gruber's son. I could see it. And I could definitely see him doing Snape. Just this savage, cruel, in the end kind of heroic. That is Kylo Ren's role. What am I talking about? That's why it's perfect more than anything else. Next, Hagrid is a classic role. Robbie Coltrane, a treasure. A national treasure. Another person who I feel similarly could be this big, gruff guy who could work with a beard and just seem very friendly. Just come off naturally as very friendly. You could hardly imagine him being a villain. Because you never thought Hagrid was going to turn or be evil at any point, even though he was expelled in the Chamber's Safe thing. I'm going to cast Nick Frost. Because he's also a British national treasure, if I do say so myself. Delightful. I love him so much. And if you see him in, what was it called? The recent Amazon series, the ghost hunting one. He was the lead character in that. He had a big beard. And that worked, and I'm starting to go, oh, Hagrid? Okay, I can see it. Next, Mcgonagall. Maggie Smith is so iconic as Mcgonagall. God, like, seriously, though, you actually think about it, you're like, damn, she was good at that. I want Emma Thompson because she, in a similar way, is really good at being a fucking mental case, kind of. But I can see her doing this strict role. It's also like, it's kind of memey almost. She is a strict character. She's halfway between being Snape and Dumbledore. Right? She's got a blend of all these aspects, but it is just funny a lot of the time, her role. And I can't really remember how much it was actually like that in the books. I think there was still a degree of that, and I think that like sassy nature would be so good on Emma Thompson. Obviously, she already was in. I mean, it's hard to not cast people who have already been associated with Harry Potter, because everyone in the British Isles that acts has been associated with Harry Potter. I think Emma Thompson she was Trelawney originally. I think she would do a great Mcgonagall as well, though, especially now she's a bit older. Next, Sirius Black is actually not as big a role as you would think. It seems like such a big role, but he's not even in Goblet of Fire anytime, right? Not really. So it's a third and fifth kind of thing, and that's it. But he is an important role to Harry. That's what matters. Somebody who can play this uncle figure, who can come off very fatherly while also seeming like this wild, crazy, actiony guy. I want James McAvoy. Yeah, no, I just want James McAvoy. He can put the Scottish accent to side. He can do it. And he's played some roles where he comes off just like that, right? More fatherly. He's getting to the age now where he can definitely do that. I could almost say if he wasn't, he's actually too old now. I was thinking about him for like James Potter as well. But he's kind of too old for that now. But this older version of Sirius, he should still be in his 30s as well. But he seems older. It's okay for him to seem older because he's been in Azkaban for so many years. So I guess that's okay. Next, Remus Lupe is another one. All these people were associated with Harry's parents that were in Harry's parents' year should be in their 30s. Lupin was way older than that in the films again. But we can kind of rectify that. You know, we're going to cast younger. We're going to cast feasible that they could still be 33, which it wasn't for any of them. For Snape or Lupin or Sirius, it wasn't feasible for any of them. They were still in their 30s in the films, but it's fine. It's fine. I think Tom Hiddleston would do a great Lupin, because Lupin is he does come off like that, despite being in his early 30s, as such a wise character, books and films. And Hiddleston is the kind of person who comes off so well playing this Loki, who is just this eternal character, has been alive for thousands of years. And he kind of seems mischievous, which would be a fun thing to inject into Lupin's character slightly. He's kind of had it kicked out of him by the whole werewolf thing over the years, but he was one of the Marauders. Sirius comes off in the films as still got some mischievousness about him. And Lupin should have that as well to a degree. He's more serious than Sirius. But he should come off more like that. And I think Tom Hiddleston would bring something of that mischievous nature while still being this very serious, haunted character. Next, Quirrell. Sam Claflin. Another guy who's not... I don't think Quirrell's meant to be that old either. But Sam Claflin is very good at these traditional British roles. I think he comes off quite well in the Hugh Granty stuttering romantic comedy lead role. And Quirrell is a take on that to some degree. He's stuttering and he's uncertain of himself so much. So much. Because he has Voldemort in the back of his head. That fucked you up, seeing that for the first time at 4 years old. Anyway, next. Lockhart is a frickin' hilarious role. Oh my goodness. What a fucking champion Gilderoy Lockhart is. He's so funny. And Kenneth Branagh did a great job. And I would like to see, maybe, it's kind of, No, it's perfect. I want Ewan McGregor. I want Ewan McGregor as Lockhart. I think it's okay for him to be a little bit older. I mean, Ewan McGregor's still not that old. And I think playing that, it's the ultimate memey role. He's just such a bastard. I think Ewan McGregor would be so funny doing that role, like Kenneth Branagh was. I don't think he can improve on it much, but I think he can reach the same heights, and I can imagine Ewan McGregor doing it so easily. Next, Umbridge, bitch face herself. That's right. Who do you hate more than Voldemort? Umbridge. Worst character. As in most evil. She's so evil. Oh my god. So evil. I want to cast Olivia Coleman, because I think it's a fun opportunity for her She did, like, the animated villain, the phone, in Mitchells vs. Machines recently, and she was actually quite funny doing that. But I like the idea of casting her as someone actually sadistically evil. I think she'd have a lot of fun with that, because it's not the kind of role she traditionally plays. She comes off as so kind-hearted, and I think that's the point. I think that's exactly what you want for Umbridge. You want someone who just seems so sweet, sickly sweet, happy, nice, and then she turns out to be just brutally, sadistically evil. Next, Slughorn. Oh my god. Oh, he is just old. He is just meant to be old. And I'd like to cast Stephen Fry for a very specific reason. When I was growing up, I wasn't good at sleeping without something on in the background. So we always, and I mean always for years, had on the background on a tape player. That's right. I'm older than I think. The Harry Potter audio tapes. Yeah. Didn't have didn't have Audible back in the day. And Stephen Fry always narrated those, and I was always surprised that he was never cast in the films. And I think he's definitely at the kind of age now where he could play Slughorn very well, and it is, Jim Broadbent was it's kind of a memey role in its own right as well. Next, these are just coming in a totally random order. There are like 20 more here. Oh my god, we're just gonna hyperblast, okay? Vernon Dursley, I want Kenneth Branagh. He was already Lockhart, sure, but he's reached the age now where he can play. I think this, harder, quite mean-spirited character like that uncle. And for Petunia, then, and it's kind of hard because she doesn't seem that outright mean most of the time. But I want to cast Rachel Wise because she's also reached the age where she can play these. I would envision her as like an evil stepmother. I could see her doing that quite well, despite not having done that many mean-spirited roles in her career, I don't think. But I could see her doing that really well. Mad-Eye Moody is another very interesting role where you're not actually in it that much, honestly. But I kind of want Mark Hamill to do it, because I feel like Mad-Eye needs halfway the sensibilities of like his roles as like the Joker, voicing him, while also being this grumpy old guy, which Luke kind of seemed like in The Last Jedi. Let's not talk about The Last Jedi. Peter Pettigrew, I just want Paul Dano because, Can you not? Can you not see that? I really can. Bellatrix Lestrange, another kind of easy one. It's kind of almost memey to cast Eva Green because she's so well known as these evil-y, stepmothery, witchy kind of people, and Bellatrix is literally she's just evil. That's her whole character. She's evil and laughs, and then she killed Sirius Black and she finds it really funny. Arthur Weasley, another set of parents to cast. I would like Simon Pegg. I already cast Nick Frost, and this is a very different kind of role, but he's kind of memey, Arthur Weasley, as a character himself, right? No? Yes, I totally see that. And Simon Pegg is very memey. He'd be so funny at that. Molly Weasley, then. I kind of want to see Alex Kingston. I can definitely see that as well. She is very good at these brisk, strict kind of British roles, and that is literally what Molly is. And then she becomes like badass at the end, and you're not surprised because you could see it in her the whole time. I could say that with Alex Kingston. Another set of parents. How about James and Lily Potter, huh? Well, we have to cast them younger because they're still in their 30s. Well, actually, they should be cast as 21, because that's when they died, so you really shouldn't be able to see them as older than that, right? But he definitely did in the Mirror of Erised. It doesn't matter. I'm going to cast Nicholas Holt, because he's still young enough to play kind of young, but he also seems fatherly in a way that it'll be so natural for him, I feel, to slide into that stage of his career where he's just doing father roles. That's what I mean. Does that make sense? And for Lily, I want to cast Lily James. Lily James is Lily Potter. Is that the only reason? No, it's because I love her, and it'll just be so tragic to see her die in the flashbacks that you will actually cry in the cinema. It'll just be really sad. Okay, so why don't we also cast some of the other Weasleys? I don't know why. We're not even casting Ginny, because hard to find these. Doesn't matter. Why not Bill Weasley? Why? Because it's easy, because you can actually cast an adult. How about Richard Madden? I could see him doing it. They don't actually use Bill almost ever in the was he in the films ever? I can't even remember. He was in the books, at least a bit. Doesn't matter. And then Charlie, I could see Tom Holland doing it. Why? Because he's British. Because he's British, and every British actor has to be involved in this. Oh my god, what's happening? My mind, it's broken. Lucius Malfoy is another. Oh, he's so evil. He's such a dick. Jason Isaacs did it so well. Cillian Murphy would also do it well, wouldn't he? Just so much experience being these shadier kind of characters. He'd be so good at that, and he'd be so good at being this prim character, which is Lucius Malfoy's entire character. Professor Trelawney needs someone to replace Emma Thompson. Did a great job with it. She's not in a huge amount, but I can imagine someone like Amelia Clark doing it. Why? Because she's British, and everyone that's British has to be in this. And also, she would have a lot of fun with that character. She loves having fun with roles. You can see it in different roles she does, and that is a different type of role than anything anyone has ever done before, except for Emma Thompson, who played her mother in Last Christmas. So that's another Mimi fun thing, right? Mimi fun times. What's next? Cornelius Fudge, easy role for Hugh Grant. He's already played a prime minister, while not play the first minister of magic, or whatever the fuck his title is. He's just kind of a dick, and Hugh Grant did a good job of playing that in Paddington 2, which is such a famous film for some god reason. It's got 100% in Rotten Tomatoes. I don't understand it. Doesn't matter. Professor Flitwick. Why are we casting Faraday as Professor Flitwick, who literally doesn't matter? I don't know. Peter Dinklage. Done. Is that too Mimi? It's kind of Mimi, but also it can be kind of fun. He'd have fun with that role, so we're just going to go with it. It's easy to do. Professor Sprout. Okay, you want Professor Sprout? We're going to cast Catherine Eugenie. She's not even British, but she'd do a really good job at it. I think she'd be really funny. As for the 5 lines they give Professor Sprout in actual films, Tonks. You want Tonks? You want to complete the Order of the Phoenix and actually have Tonks? Okay, Keira Knightley, because she's fucking British, and she wasn't even the first film somehow, even though she's the most British thing in the world. Okay, you want Ollivander? We can cast Ollivander as well. Let's cast Jeremy Irons. Is he actually old enough to play Ollivander? Because Ollivander seems ancient. No, that's fine. They can put makeup on him. And also, Jeremy Irons is so good at coming off as wise. He played Alfred. That's how you know. What else? Oliver Wood. Okay, let's cast Oliver Wood. Let's cast Otto Ferrand, because he's Alex Rider now, and although being 23, he comes off as a teenager, as 14 years old in Alex Rider, so we can do the same thing in Harry Potter, where Oliver Wood is meant to be, 16, 17 at the start. That seems fine to me. Dumbledore. You want us to cast Dumbledore? Okay, you want us to cast Dumbledore? You need someone older who hasn't already played it, which seems like half a dozen people, even the likes of Ian McKellen, seem like they've played him because they played Gandalf, which is so similar, and that'd be too Mimi to cast him. And also you want someone who's going to be able to deal with the rigor of having to go through 7 films in this role. So I'm going to go with the man who is at that age where it is perfectly understandable that he could do this role, who seems wise naturally, and who's just great, and his career will not shut down from doing actiony roles no matter what you do to him. I'm casting Liam Neeson. I love Liam Neeson. I cast him as Klaus in the Klaus film in a live-action adaptation. I just, from Qui-Gon Jinn, when he was in his 40s still, he was playing these incredibly wise roles. He seemed wise when he was doing Schindler, and he was still young doing that. So he would come off so well at this ultimate paragon of security. He's Harry's security blanket, and then when he dies, it's like, oh, Jesus, there is no security anymore. And he'd just be fantastic at it. And finally, oh God, I tried to keep this video from being half an hour. It's getting there. Voldemort. Oh, shit, I said it. He must not be named. Is a tough role to play, and Ralph Fiennes did a fantastic job at it, and you need someone on that level of evil. And there's another obvious answer here. There's another obvious British guy who is young enough to potentially play him in the flashbacks if you needed. Not like Chamber of Secrets level, because you need an actual teenager. Somebody who made me love any film he was in as a villain naturally, because he's so good at it. I loved The Desolation of Smaug, despite the Hobbit films not being great. I love Star Trek Into Darkness, despite it being just a complete rip on Wrath of Khan. Benedict Cumberbatch is the perfect choice for Voldemort. When he chooses to sound evil, he sounds more evil than anyone in the world can sound. So he definitely should be Voldemort. And he seems so traditionally, poshly British, which Ralph Fiennes always came off as. And you look at other roles that Ralph Fiennes is doing, like now, you can see Benedict Cumberbatch doing those in 10 years. Can you not? I definitely can. I think he'd be so good at it, and he'd be so scary. At least on the level of Ralph Fiennes. Maybe more. He's so terrifying. He's the one person who I could see being a better Voldemort, honestly. I can see it. And I'm done. Oh my God. That's all for this month, folks. There was so much there. God, if you want to vote on what is the next Fancast, you can get a membership down there and then go to the community page, check out all the polls we post weekly for the things that they get to vote on. If you want to just subscribe and not miss any more of these Fancasts, because we've got like 91, 92 of them on the channel, then do that as well. And like the video. That helps. Thank you.